Your checking account available balance is $12,617,290.56.
Here we go.
Money, money, making crap for money, money, and money, money, making crap for money, money, yeah. 当他们都在说有钱才能做自我，掉入消费主义陷阱，花钱不是说。
What's up, everybody? It's your girl, The Sin Show, and yes, I am back with another episode. How we talking money? We talking dollar bills, y'all. We talking credit. You get it? We talking about it. Why not? We have to. We go through this ish every year with our goddamn finances. Where are you? Where am I? Don't ask me about where I am. Don't worry about me. I'm talking for you. Let's go about you. So, what do you guys know about credit and debit? Let's teach each other, because I bet you any money there are so many new tips. And one thing I've learned and I'm starting to discover, especially about credit, are these points. Points that are just, you link your points to this credit card, you get triple the amount of credit cards, and even things like, you know, when somebody passes, what it's like for that person to inherit their spouse's like points. It's insane. Even coming down to a divorce, it's all very, I'll say calculated for now. But one thing's for sure, two things for certain. We have no choice but to use money, honey. Okay, we use it for everything. Most people use credit cards for everything. Some people just use their debit cards for everything. And so it's all about learning. Okay, I put these together, these video compilations for us to learn from. Obviously, these things are all for education and entertainment purposes only. I can't even say all of that today. But you know what I mean? Because I've just been thinking to myself, man, there's some new things that I might have discovered about the use of a credit card that I did not know how to use before. You know, I was that girl way back in the day. I'll never forget when I first got to my first day of college. And if you remember those days, I'm laughing just because I was like, I just had the flashback. Comment in this comment section if you remembered that day. First day of college, you got your schedule for your full, semester, whatever. And right in front of either the financial aid office or the student registrar's office were just these plethora of tables. And it was just different department store credit cards and student credit cards and this kind of credit card and that kind of credit card. Now, did you know at that time, if you had parents who had spoken to you about the use of credit and even just finances, then kudos to your fam. Straight up, kudos to yours. Kudos even to mine, because my mother tried. Okay, I'm a little hard-headed. It took a minute, but I get it. Okay, I get it. Thank God. Thank you, Jesus. But I just remember that day signing up for all of these credit cards back in that time. Man, if I had known the kind of debt that I had put myself in at that time. Thankfully, got good jobs that got me right out of that thing. However, some of us don't always make it. Some of us continue to keep on getting more and more credit cards and putting ourselves more and more debt, or just not finding the formula to your said credit card. When I say formula, I'm also talking about the best time to pay it, how much to spend on it in order for you to get a really big increase. Guys, there's just so much tea about it. Let's have a key in the comment section about it. Talk to me, talk to us. 64 subscribers. We are growing, first of all of us. And please do like these videos. As much as I love you subscribing, I would also love for you guys to like these videos too. But it is also about us learning. We're at the top of the year. Let's get a grip on our shits. Okay, we're going to get a grip on our shits this year. We cannot catch ourselves slipping. And something is also kind of giving me that feeling, that vibration, that the way how the year has kind of started off, especially in the States and also up here, doesn't really feel like the economy is going to be in our favor. Feel me? So it's kind of giving save as much as you can wherever you can. And the use of your credit, if you want to forget it, great. But if you know how to get that formula, if it works for you, yo, do it. Do what you've got to do because I'm not too sure if I'm going to be seeing a lot of people buying homes like we used to back in the day, especially pre-pandemic times. And I just am kind of feeling like it could be a mass exodus that could go down and people will leave with whatever they've got. So let's have a conversation about what we know, what we can learn from these videos that I am sharing with you. Like I said, sharing is caring, and I am doing this because what? It's all about education and entertainment. So guys, love you. Let's go ahead, have a whole, fuck it. Enjoy. Bye.
Jay-Z and Beyonce bought a $200 million house in California.
Yeah.
In Malibu.
They're saying they paid all cash for it too. The cash thing is like that's not exactly like a real thing.
Well, you can pay cash for your down payment.
But they are saying they paid the whole thing cash. What most people in this circumstance do, and I didn't know this until recently, this was even an option, and this is how like people with high net worth can really have a huge advantage in these types of circumstances. You can take a loan out on your assets, use that loan, that line of credit, as cash, buy the property, and then refinance it into a mortgage. So you get all your money back. So you pay off that loan and now you have a mortgage, right? So that's how a lot of rich people pay all cash for things without actually taking their money out of the stock market.
Jay-Z and Beyonce bought a $200 million house in California.
Yeah.
In Malibu.
They're saying they paid all cash for it too. The cash thing is like that's not exactly like a real thing.
Well, you can pay cash for your down payment.
But they are saying they paid the whole thing cash. What most people in this circumstance do, and I didn't know this until recently, this was even an option, and this is how like people with high net worth can really have a huge advantage in these types of circumstances. You can take a loan out on your assets, use that loan, that line of credit, as cash, buy the property, and then refinance it into a mortgage. So you get all your money back. So you pay off that loan and now you have a mortgage, right? So that's how a lot of rich people pay all cash for things without actually taking their money out of the stock market.
You know, people joke, but these points, they're serious. When you get a divorce, it's right there in the spreadsheet alongside your house, the car, your bank accounts, in terms of assets that you have to divide with your spouse. And they're not small money. Like sometimes people pay me to fight over the points. And I'm not cheap.
When should you use a debit card and when should you use a credit card?
You should only use a debit card when you're withdrawing cash.
So you use your credit card to buy everything?
Yeah, and when I buy this, I get points that I can use to claim cash back and free flight.
It's not really free when you have to pay interest.
I don't pay any interest because I pay my card up in full every month.
Nah, it's not worth the risk.
Not using a credit card is far riskier. Because if something like that happens, they can completely drain your bank account. I don't have to worry using that card because I can dispute the charges and never be out of pocket.
Imagine ordering a coffee and slipping into a daydream. Are you also hearing Jennifer Garner ask,
"What's in your wallet?"
Well, what's in your wallet is very important. And as for all that credit card rewards talk, she might be onto something.
Most people should be able to save at least a few $100s every year just by using the right credit cards.
If you travel as much as Peyton Manning,
extra night in San Diego,
morning,
or are a diehard Swiftie trying to save on those expensive concert tickets, as these commercials will tell you, there's a card for everyone. And those cards will save you money. Well, that is, if you have the funds to make the rewards worthwhile.
They could be really useful or they could be dangerous. I think the biggest tip is to know yourself.
Love them or hate them, those plastic or metal cards that can instantly purchase anything from a coffee to a car are no stranger to consumers. More than 80% of Americans own at least one credit card. Every time you pay for something with a credit card, you're borrowing money from the card issuer to cover your purchase. While it might feel like it, it's certainly not free. You then have to pay that money back either in full at the end of the month or over time, with interest.
The average credit card charges about 20% interest these days, so it is a very profitable business.
So, first things first. If you're not in a place where you can pay that money back by the time it's due, experts don't recommend you have a credit card at all.
Paying 20% interest on a balance that you've accumulated, and then you pay interest on top of that. I mean, that's a really big hole that you're continuing to dig, and it's going to be really hard to get out of if you don't pay your credit card balance.
Credit cards require approval. Once you're approved, the bank authorizes a credit limit or the maximum amount of money you can borrow. That depends on factors such as your income, your other debts, and how much available credit you have on other cards. But here's the caveat. Whether or not you're approved depends on your credit score. Meanwhile, your credit score is determined by your credit report, the information related to your credit activity you might not have if you don't have a credit card. It's a catch-22.
How do you build your credit history? Well, the simplest thing is really to get a credit card, use your credit card, and pay it on time.
Credit scores generally range from 300 to 850. The higher the credit score, the more responsible you're deemed. Credit scores not only affect whether or not you get approved for credit cards, but also your credit limit and your interest rate on loans, mortgages, and the terms lenders may assign you. Insurance providers, landlords, and employers might also want to do a check to determine your trustworthiness.
If your goals are to buy a house, get a car, get a loan, the first thing that you need to do in order to build your credit history is to get that credit card going.
Those Jennifer Garner commercials are for Capital One, but there are numerous companies in the US that offer a wide range of credit cards. There's the issuers, American Express, Discover, Bank of America, Citi, Wells Fargo, and then there are the networks. They facilitate transactions between the merchants and the card issuers. The four major card networks are Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and Discover. Two of the world's largest card networks, American Express and Discover, are also card issuers. There are standard credit cards, rewards cards, balance transfer, charge, student, business, secured, limited purpose, prepaid cards, and the list goes on. Different options that may or may not be right for you depending on your personal circumstances. Standard credit cards are the most traditional type. They have an annual percentage rate or APR, sign-up bonuses, annual fees, late payment fees, balance transfer fees, foreign transaction fees, and the most exciting, rewards.
There's actually a whole industry dedicated to maximizing credit card points and miles. Some people love it, and they love going down that rabbit hole and treating it like a game.
Bankrate.com senior analyst Ted Rossman earned more than $1,700 in rewards in 2022. But getting the most out of your credit cards depends on your spending habits. Which perks would save you the most money? So, how do you choose?
If your family spends a lot on groceries, get a card that gives 5 or 6% cash back on groceries. Like, that's a really nice inflation buster right there. Maybe consider a second card that's just a solid flat rate, something like 2% cash back on everything. Most people should be able to get at least $200, $300, $400 a year just by using the right cards.
Rossman says the rewards that get the most attention are often travel-related. Flights, hotels, rental cars, access to airport lounges, free or discounted TSA pre-check, priority passes, global entry, or clear to get you through those long airport lines.
I think a really good strategy for a lot of people is one of those transferable points cards, something like Chase Sapphire Reserve or Amex Platinum. Being able to transfer to different airlines and hotels opens up a lot of options. The sort of next level tip is within that, if you find partners of partners, like United's part of the Star Alliance and American is part of One World.
Then there's rewards for dining, groceries, gas, and also complimentary memberships and subscriptions. Big perks for many are extended warranty and purchase protection.
A couple years ago, I actually saved $300 on an Apple Watch repair. The credit card covered the replacement.
But according to Bankrate, Americans' favorite credit card reward is cash back.
I think especially now with high inflation, who couldn't use more cash, right?
Whereas redeeming for merchandise will likely not get you the most bang for your buck. Other rewards include sign-up bonuses, fraud protection, and having the ability to invest your money and take advantage of interest rates. Another thing to consider is how much work you're willing to do. Are you that person who's going to tape notes onto your cards to remind yourself which should be used for different types of purchases?
I know some people that have 30 or more credit cards, and they have really good credit and they get really good perks, and they're constantly flying first class for free. Now, that's not for everybody, of course. The average American has about 4 credit cards. But even with 4 cards, sometimes there can be a game element to this.
Having multiple cards and playing that rewards game can get you some substantial sign-up bonuses, like the Capital One Venture Rewards credit card's 75,000 miles, or Inc. Business Unlimited's $900 in cash back.
If you are playing this rewards game, which a lot of people like to do because they like that upfront bonus, you're getting a new credit card and then you close it out, you're losing that credit history. So my recommendation is not to do that. Only use a credit card if you can use it responsibly.
American credit card balances reached $986 billion in the last 3 months of 2022.
The big fork in the road is whether or not you carry a balance. If you pay your credit cards in full every month, then yeah, I think you should use your credit card for everything because rewards are great. They can really add up over time.
Even though it's simple math, a 2022 survey found that among credit card holders who carry a balance, cash back was more than 4 times as popular as a low interest rate. Meanwhile, a large share of those who owe debt, 40%, don't even know the interest rate for the primary card on which they owe money.
One of the biggest things that we see about the spending of credit cards and those that are using it incorrectly are those that are either from lower income households, those that are uneducated in this, because no one is talking to them about money.
A recent Bankrate survey found that 30% of those without a high school degree didn't redeem their rewards, compared to 16% with a 4-year degree. And the lower an American's income, the more likely they were to let those rewards sit as well. More than 30% of those with annual household incomes below $50,000 left value on the table, compared to about 20% of those with incomes between $50,000 and nearly $80,000, and just more than 10% with incomes of $100,000 or more. Sage Mint Wealth Managing Partner Ann Tran says culture plays a big part in how people spend.
I grew up in an immigrant family. I wasn't taught about personal finance. You just make as much money as you can and get yourself out and build wealth for yourself.
Tran recommends having 2 credit cards and 3 if you're a business owner. 1 for primary expenses, a second as a backup, and a third to keep business expenses separate. She says there should also be thought going into your credit card limit and your spending ratio.
Let's say you have 1 credit card and you've got a $10,000 limit on there and you've spent all the way up to $9,000. That actually will lower your credit score because your credit to debt ratio is not good because you've used up most of your credit. So the rule of thumb is, I would say, try to stick around 30% in using what your credit availability is. And so that's why having a second card will give you a little bit of leeway in giving you more credit to spend.
For those with credit card debt, while experts don't recommend you open multiple credit cards and try to maximize your rewards, that doesn't mean you shouldn't work on ways to build your credit so that you can get to that place.
If you have credit card debt, no shame, a lot of people do, about half of cardholders, but you need to put your interest rate first. So maybe seek out a 0% balance transfer card, or stick to the lowest rate card you can find, or just use cash or debit until you're debt free.
There are a lot of cashback rewards cards that do not have annual fees that will give you 1% back on all your purchases, and that is probably the most simple.
Now, let's say you get to a place where you've got some plastic in hand and you're feeling good about those rewards. The work doesn't end there. She says you should continue to reevaluate your debt and credit cards at least once a month.
Tracking your finances, whether it's on an Excel spreadsheet or using an app like Mint.com, something that will track what all of your assets, all of your debt and liabilities are so that you know where everything is.
And if you're racking up those points, use them. Almost a quarter of rewards credit card holders haven't redeemed any rewards in the past year. And that's an improvement from the 31% of those who didn't in the preceding 12 months.
It doesn't get more valuable over time. In fact, a lot of times these programs change their rules in ways that the industry calls devaluations. Like basically it costs more points or miles to get the free flight or the free hotel stay. So use them sooner rather than later, and then cash back too. That can lose value to inflation.
Most people are scared of money, and you shouldn't be. If you know the facts and you understand how money works, it can be really empowering.